All right, guys, let's get into the next session this morning, Q&A. This is something we do here occasionally. I might answer one question before service. Sometimes I'll take a Wednesday night and do live Q&A. But this morning, I got a couple of questions that have come in recently. I wanted to take some time to answer. So first of all, this is a fun one. Here we go. Concerning Dante's Inferno. I recently was told about Dante's Inferno. When I was asked on my thoughts, I simply replied that Jesus didn't give us a picture of hell. My question is, as a Christian, how do I navigate the feelings I have when people drastically question God? How do I stand up for Jesus respectfully in a manner that won't lead me to sin? All right. A couple of questions in that paragraph there, so let's just walk through them. First of all, concerning Dante's Inferno. If you're not familiar with that, don't be surprised. A lot of people are not, unless you are either one, somebody that studies old literature, or two, somebody who happened to see the 2013 film Dante's Inferno. So first of all, what is Dante's Inferno? It is a portion of a poem. So there's a work of literature that's considered one of the greatest of all time, written in the 14th century by Dante, and it's got three parts of it. All three parts together is called the Divine Comedy, which to me is interesting that, first of all, it doesn't even kind of have this serious tone to it with the title. It's called the Divine Comedy. But Dante's Inferno was written by Dante. It is a poem. And in Inferno, Dante journeys through the 9 circles of hell, guided by the poet Virgil. Now, in the movie, the 2013 movie, it has some of its own twists to it that are not in the actual work, and I don't care to get into any of that this morning. The one thing I want to establish is that Dante's Inferno is a poem written by a poet. It's not true, and it was never claimed to be true. The person who sent this in, if you want to get with me, please do, if you have follow-up questions. This was sent in anonymously, which we like that, so people can ask any question they want, if they want to, anonymous. This was sent in anonymous, so I wasn't able to, contact this person for any questions, because I wasn't certain in the way this was asked if the conversation they had was in the context of Dante's Inferno being real, because it's not real. The author never claimed it was real. It is literally a poem of one man's thought process on what hell might be like. And so it talks about going through 9 circles of hell, but obviously it's just a poem. Second, how do I navigate the feelings I have when people drastically question God? Well, I think there should be a degree of concern, right, if people that we love are questioning God. But listen to me when I say this, and I hope it doesn't come across rude, but you cannot expect deaf people to hear. You can't get mad at some deaf guy for not being able to hear what you're saying. You can't get mad if you got a picture that you want somebody to see, but the man is blind. You cannot get mad because the blind man can't see. And this is the reality about Christ, the truth of the Word of God. It does require that God helps open up the ears and the eyes of the heart. And that's something you and I cannot force upon anybody. And so we shouldn't get frustrated or angry with people when they simply don't see or can't hear. Instead, we should pray for them. We should pray that God would soften their heart. We should pray that God would open their eyes. We should remember that sometimes the Bible uses the analogy of this transformation that happens in our life with a seed that is planted in soil that eventually takes root. And so remember that when a seed is planted in soil, you can't you don't know what's going on under the soil until that thing starts to burst out of the ground. So for all you know, you're planting a seed. For all you know, there's already a seed that's planted, and you're watering that seed. And so I would encourage us, how do you navigate the feelings of people that, are anti-God or mock God? Just remember, you really have no idea what's actually going on in somebody's heart. Remember that you are not responsible for the results. You are simply responsible for sharing your faith, being a witness, and testifying to God. That's your responsibility. You cannot force anybody to receive it or change. And so let's have a certain sense of hope when we're sharing our testimonies, when we're talking with people about the things of God, but let's also remember God's the one that does the change, and let God do what God does. Number 3, he or she said, how do I stand up for Jesus respectfully in a manner that won't lead me to sin? I answered this as if I was speaking to a man. Stand up respectfully. That's a choice you make. Just do it. Be firm, but be kind. It doesn't matter how rude somebody is or what they're saying. Being respectful is a choice, and it's just something you have to do it.